What's going on, everyone? Today we're here with Miss Linzee Locke out of Denver, Colorado. Now she's going to share with us about her travels all over the world, and something as black people, we really need to start traveling and moving around, get out of our neighborhoods, get out of our city, get out of our state. And this sister will definitely share information on how we can do that. So Linzee, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Linzee, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself? I mean, how did you start traveling? What got you inspired? I mean, where you come from? We just like to know about you.
Absolutely. So I've always had an affinity for travel. I was, very blessed as a kid for my parents to really value sharing amazing life experiences with us. So rather than load us up with toys and things like that, they really invested their money in great vacations for us. So as a child, we explored the Caribbean and, across the states and things like that. And so that kind of sparked my interest and, sparked my interest for travel, as a kid. And as I got older, life got away. I was in school and I started working and all sorts of things. And I one day just, decided to make travel a priority and see how I could fit that in my life and what would work life look like with a travel life. And is there a way that I could work remotely, work for myself and still see the world? So I found a way to do that. And I think that that what I did in finding a niche and working for myself and working remotely for a set period of time, like I decided I was going to do this for a year and a half. After a year and a half, I checked back in, figure out things that were, figure out what was next. But for that year and a half, I was what you would call a digital nomad, right? So you work remotely, and I found that it was significantly cheaper for me to live and be a citizen of the world than it is for me to live full time in Denver, Colorado. So with flights and food and accommodations, it still was exponentially cheaper for me to travel. So, yeah.
So you said it would be easier for you to be a citizen of the world and instead of just a resident of Denver, Colorado. Why you feel that way?
Well, I think financially, it's significantly cheaper. It's less expensive. When you start talking about rent and bills and car notes and insurance and all of those things that you need to pay for when you're living stationary in one place. So if you add all of that up over a month and then add up what it would cost for me to live in Thailand for a month or live in Thailand for 2 weeks and hop over to Bali and stay there and live great and eat good and, do whatever kind of adventurous things I wanted to do, it would come nowhere near close to the cost of me staying in Denver. Now that's not going to be true if you want to go and live somewhere in Paris and live like a queen in Paris. That's not going to be the case. But if you choose your destinations carefully, you can definitely save a significant amount of money traveling, more so than you would be being stationary.
Okay, so how much U.S. dollars would it take for you to be in a good area of Thailand? Of course, we're not trying to leave and go to a country and go straight back to the hood. So how much it normally costs to be in Thailand for a month? The eating, moving around, going to see sites.
I mean, that's going to vary just depending on what it is, like what accommodations are you comfortable with, Do you want a hotel? Are you comfortable with a room in an Airbnb somewhere? How do you want to eat? Do you want to eat street food? It's going to vary just by how that person wants to live. Now, by maintaining I value, good, nice, clean accommodations. I'm a vegetarian. Eating street food isn't always the easiest thing depending on where I am. So I'm conscious of that. So I would probably say I would be on the mid scale as far as traveling expenses go. I'm not a backpacker and I'm not a luxe traveler. So I could probably spend a month in a good area of Thailand, see a few places, eat good, live okay, on maybe $550 a month.
That is amazing. $550, and that's eating 3 square meals a day.
I mean, that's eating just as you would here, because you can eat on the streets of Thailand for a couple bucks,
Well, I get that because I remember some years ago before the things happened in Mexico with the cartels kind of got out of hand. I went to Mexico and I had a meal, okay, in Mexico. And this meal was, I mean, not only, the big breakfast, the fixings, everything. Over here, I probably paid like $17 and I only paid about $4.
Yeah.
For that in Mexico. And the waiter we had, Lindsay, he stood there the whole time, and my drink couldn't even get down enough for he hurry up and switch in another. Like here in America, you gotta be turning around, looking and saying like, "Where my waiter at?" Because I want a drink.
Right. It's so interesting that you notice the level of service that you get in other countries. Yeah, it's not equated with the price of what you're paying. Yes, it's $2, but you're still getting exceptional service. Yeah, I found it to be true also.
Yeah, because I'm the type of person, I know it's a stereotype out there that black people don't like to tip, but I'm a firm believer of tipping people that give me good service. So you had that dude did that, like I said, I gave him $20 at the time period. I said, because this dude has done so great, I gotta tip him. And he was happy. He saw the amount of money it was. He looked like I made his day or something. But I guess over there in certain countries, they struggle.
It's funny you brought up tipping, and now that we're speaking of Thailand. So I'm not a huge fan of massages. I'm just they're just not my thing. But in Thailand, I was like, I'm not leaving here without getting a massage. I have to go get a Thai massage. So I did. It was life-changing. It was amazing. It was like 90 minutes long. I swear when I got up, I could see smells. Like it was great. I get why people, when they're there, they do this every single day. Now it's 90 minutes and you're paying maybe $8, and it just doesn't seem right because that's a physical thing to give someone a massage. And so I went to tip them, and I think I was tipping what would be in US maybe like $15 or something. And for them, it's almost shocking because of how much money that is. Like that could be, your rent for a month, your family's food for a month. And you want to be careful that you're not being disrespectful, because it would be like someone coming here and handing you $1,000 tip and you're just like a bit taken aback. And so you want to be mindful of that.
Sorry, that's not disrespectful. You give me $1,000 tip, I'm going to say thank the Lord for you.
I would agree, but people want to feel like a charity case, that I appreciate your service, but you're not a charity case. So
now on the Thai massage that you had, did you get the one that walked on your back?
Yes. So this was
I got that one time too.
Oh, it was amazing. So it's like a mix of massage and yoga. So they stretch your body out, and I mean, just imagine flying all that time and. Oh, it's just it was perfect. I definitely recommend Thai massages.
Yeah, it is, because I'm gonna say some years ago, I had got one of those, and the lady walk on your back, and how they stretch their feet and all this other stuff, and like you just never had a massage like that. I'm like, that's crazy, but like I said, they don't. Oh, like I said, yeah, you haven't had a Thai massage. Now, those of you who live in Houston, be careful some of the Thai massage places you're going. You know why I say that?
None of the happy ending ones.
Yeah, you gotta be careful some of that here in Houston. But aside from that, so I had another brother that was on here. He was talking about Thailand as well, and how he said he really liked it over there. So, as a Black American, going into Thailand, let's say that country, for instance. How are you received versus being a Black woman in America?
So I think, in communities like Thailand, they're a community of people of color, right, in that part of Asia. And I did not notice any differences in treatment than than people who are there of different races. Now, that's not to say about every place that I've been, but Thailand, there's nothing notable or remarkable for me to say about being Black in Thailand. It's not like being in Japan where they are just like shocked to see you. They think that you're Beyonce. It's the only Black person they're familiar with, and you want people want to take your picture or touch your hair or things like that. Or even in Australia where there's a little bit of racial tension, I didn't encounter either of those things. So Black in Thailand, not, like I said, it's undescript, not much to say, really. They're friendly people. yeah, nothing remarkable to say about being a black woman in Thailand.
Okay, well that's interesting what you said about Japan, but let's talk about some African nations. How many African nations you been to?
I spent last November. I went to South Africa, and I did Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. And I've done a lot of cool stuff. You know, I've been blessed and fortunate to do some amazing things in my life. But that trip to South Africa definitely ranks at the top of my list, for several reasons. First of all, I got an amazing deal on my flight. I paid $389 round trip from landing in Cape Town, returning from Johannesburg, from DC. So
Okay. Well, hold on, sister. Before you go, number two, what airline it was that you
okay.
got that deal with? Because I want to know.
And I think everybody needs to know. So, and this is important, right? Like we need to let people know that travel can be affordable. And this particular flight I found on secretflying.com. It's a site that I look at every single day. And anybody who's serious about traveling, I would encourage you to check out this site regularly as well. They post flight deals that just happen to be cheaper for whatever reason. The airline is running a sale. They also post flights where there's an error in the fare, like a sleight of hand that one of their employees did that made a flight exponentially cheaper than it was before. And usually airlines do honor those flights. Mine just happened to be a sale. It was on South Africa Airlines. It's a member of Star Alliance. So yeah,
So you said it's
trip. And
it's secretline.com?
Secret Flying.
Flying?
Uh-huh.
Okay, secretflying.com. Okay. But I'm writing it down.
There's several other sites out there like that. That's just the one that I happen to use. And I encourage people to be flexible with their destinations. You know, I definitely have a bucket list of places that I would like to see. But I'm more interested at this point in like places that I can get to inexpensively. So, you know, it may be at the bottom of my list, but if I can get to Colombia for $400 round trip from Denver, that kind of rises to the top of my list. So, and then I think also in the vein of affordable travel is if you're on sites like that, or even if you're just looking up things on Google Flights, is be flexible with the location that you're going to depart from. So if you live in a small area, look for places that are in driving distance from you, that are major cities, or you sometimes, like I can get from Denver to Dallas or Denver to LA for next to nothing. So it behooves me to look at also flights that leave out of LA or leave out of Dallas, so I can, expand my chances of finding affordable flight deals. So, yeah.
And the people you're flying with, are they major carriers, or like who are they?
So I've never flown on the first leg of travel, like from the U.S. going abroad on like a random no-name airline. So they've all been major carriers. Like South Africa Airways is a major airline. Qatar is a major airlines. You know, Virgin Atlantic, all of those airlines. But I encourage you. There was one recently that I hadn't flown. I can't remember the name of it, and so I just will Google it, and just like there's Yelp reviews on everything, there are tons of reviews on these airlines, and just look at what's important to you. Is it food? Is it the rate of their arrival times, being on time? And those people will rank all of those things, so you'll be able to make an informed decision about which airline carrier to take. Now once you're in the country, that's when you have a lot of these local regional carriers, and I've flown them without issue several times. A week in South Africa, for instance, will be comparable to a week that you've spent in Miami. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with with trips to Miami. Have a blast, but just know that there's also international trips that you can take that are going to be that will be comparable in cost. So don't relegate yourself to domestic travel because you think it's just not attainable and it's just too expensive. There are definitely destinations that will be affordable for you. Costa Rica is someone that I haven't actually been to Costa Rica yet, but Costa Rica is always on sale. you can fly Southwest to get to Costa Rica. So, just open your horizons, see what's out there, see where you want to see, create a travel bucket list, get on Pinterest, and then check Secret Flying and see how you can afford a destination that you're really interested in.
Now, is there any other countries that you went to, you say outside of South Africa, that's in Africa, you say, you know what, I may want to relocate here?
Oh, yes. So outside of Johannesburg had me wanting to buy a flat. That day I called my dad, like, Dad, it's investment opportunities here, which is something I'd like to talk about too at a later date. But where would I live? Tokyo. I was this close to accepting a job in Tokyo. And I always tell people everything is better in Japan, okay? Everything is efficient. The people are friendly. It is clean. It is safe. You can walk through the streets at any time of night. Nothing will happen. You could leave. I went to a festival in Japan last summer. And it's like this huge fireworks festival, and you go out and it's by the ocean, and you come and you set up your stuff, like your blanket and your food, and like people have coolers and all of this stuff. And so people get there early to secure a nice spot, close so they can see the fireworks. So they come and they bring their blankets and they bring their food and their alcohol and they set it there and then they leave. And I'm like, there's no way that this stuff is still going to be here when they get back. It's all still there. Nobody messes with anything. It's great. I mean, just so much going on in Japan that I really, really enjoyed. And there's also there's Black people in Tokyo. There's a large Nigerian population. So unlike, I spent a lot of time in Nagoya, which is a part of Japan to where there's no Black people in Nagoya, Japan. But you get a nice little African population in Tokyo. So hands down, between living in Johannesburg and Tokyo, those are places I would love to call home. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I always wanted to go to Tokyo for the simple fact of they're the electronics capital of the world. They have everything first before America even get it.
Yeah.
I was curious to ask you, are these cell phones running on 5G yet?
I don't think so.
No, because they had 4G and all the different speeds of internet on the phones. They had it before America got it. That's why I was curious if they had it yet.
I don't think so. Now, I can't be certain, but when I was there and using like their local towers to run my cell phone, I didn't notice that it was any significantly faster or that it said 5G. But I could be wrong. The technology that I was just impressed with was the technology of your home. So I stayed in an apartment in Nagoya the majority of the time that I spent in Japan, because I was there with one of my friends, and she had an apartment there. And so I was really impressed with the technology of the house. So, from minor things like you ring the doorbell, it's a video, you see the person who's, ringing your doorbell, to the way the entire house is controlled. Like, Japanese bathrooms are on a whole other level. Like, even I can't buy a home without a Japanese toilet. I need a heated toilet seat in the morning. I need it to play music. I need it to do.
They got it going good over there.
It's a bidet. It's everything. I definitely need a Japanese toilet. And then the way that their showers are, it's like a room. So it's a bathtub and a shower, and you can set all the temperatures for you. Oh, it's great. It turns into a dryer, so you can dry your clothes in that room. It's amazing. The technology that are in Japanese homes is it. I love it. You're making me miss Japan even more.
Well, like I said, that was on my list. Like going to Tokyo, and even my daughter, that's two things she's been on me about. That she said, well, I want to go to Tokyo, and I want to go see, different countries in Africa. So because she wants a big family trip, and I agree with her.
I mean, Tokyo. There's always really good flight deals out of Houston going to Tokyo. So
that's right up my alley.
Keep it on your list. It's a beautiful place. And going during the spring where all the cherry blossoms are bloomed, Japan is awesome.
Okay, so once you did all of the traveling, how did it affect you? Just looking at the perception of the world itself, because when you here in America as a Black person, you stuck in the reality of America and all the crap you got to deal with as a Black person. Once you start going to all these different countries, how did that affect your overall perception?
I think that it confirmed for me what I've known for quite some time, which was that my intention is not to live in the States forever, that I don't have to subject, if you will, me or my family to what's going on in the States when there's opportunities in other countries. Specifically, my goal is to live somewhere in West Africa, and to be able to go over there and thrive and contribute to that economy. This seems so much more appealing than being in the States and dealing with all this crazy stuff that we have going on here right now. So I was in South Africa the day of the election when the leader of our country was elected, and it was they think we are crazy. Like, how did you all let this happen? Like, they are literally laughing at us. Like, how is that happening? And they, what I think a common misconception is that, especially when you're talking about Africans, that their goal is to get to America. And the vast majority of Africans that I would speak to and have in-depth conversations with have no intention of leaving Africa to go to America. Some people are interested in going to Europe, but they look at our country as something that is just in shambles and not anything that they want to be a part of, very far from what was being sold as the American dream. And so they're content, with where they are. And I just think to achieve my own personal goals, the goals for my family, that I'd like to do that outside of the States. So I think, just to get back to your question, it just really confirmed for me something that I already knew, and kind of took the fear out of that equation, that it's not a pipe dream. It's not something that I'm hopeful for. It's a next step in the very near future that I can totally live outside of the country and be happy. So.
And let's say if they had a great movement start within the black community here in America to say, you know what, let's just have this an exodus. Let's go. Let's just leave them behind. Mm-hmm. The great Marcus Garvey. Okay?
Absolutely.
He was trying to do that.
Absolutely.
He was trying to do everything he could to get black people to take off. Let's go.
Right.
And you know the story behind Marcus Garvey. J. Edgar Hoover stopped him from doing it.
Right.
Now, do you believe the way this country operates, if black people will start a major exodus again, do you think they'll try to stop it?
Oh, the powers that will certainly put things in place to make it more difficult. I mean, who would they be to not hinder the progress of black people? Of course. I mean, absolutely. And part of that is because they know, like, we can go over there and thrive, like, and do amazing things. And I think black people are entrepreneurial by nature. A lot of us are, and we can go over there and start business and contribute to business and just be great. And the powers that be will definitely put things in place to kind of, to stop that kind of migration out of the country. But with that being said, I think that there are a lot of people who would hop on that movement. I'm not alone in my desire to live outside of the state. And I think it's becoming a more attractive option, especially to I call myself an older millennial, I think it's becoming very attractive to older millennials and our parents who are nearing retirement. My dad is saying, he could retire and live in the state, and and take this money that he's saved for and live a good life, or he could take this money and live outside the states and live an amazing life, just because your dollars will go so far. So it's great for people who are looking for somewhere to retire, as well as just people like me who want to have families and raise them somewhere else that's likely more consistent with their personal values.
Yeah, because, what you were saying earlier about the powers that be, they love to tell us, at least the racist people, we need to go back to Africa. But it seems like, as you stated, it's true. They will try to put a block or something to prevent us from mass to do that.
Oh, Yeah.
Because like they want to hold us hostage here.
Right. Or they're going to try and figure out why the heck you want to go over there. And you'll see things that, like what's happening in Ghana. And Ghana is about to no longer be an affordable option for us. Like Ghana was at the top of my list of places to live. Like on the beach in Ghana, absolutely. That's all me. But you see white Americans buying up that land like it, because they know it's valuable, and who doesn't want to live on beautiful African beaches? So I think they'll try and figure out what you're doing, why you're doing it, and figure out how that they can, throw a monkey wrench in your plan or go take advantage of it before you can. And that's what I don't want to happen. I want to not only encourage Black people to get out there and see the world and travel, but also when you're over there, when you're enjoying these countries, especially when we're talking about enjoying countries in Africa, think larger than that. Like what can you do here? Is there business opportunities for you here? We talk about networking all the time. Get your network on. I found that Africans have been so welcoming and just nice and happy that we're there. And in South Africa, they just wanted to give me the game completely on business stuff, like what kind of businesses that their neighborhoods and communities were missing, and what they thought would be a good niche for me as a Black American woman in Johannesburg. I'm speaking of conversations that I had there specifically. So, don't miss these amazing business opportunities that present themselves, even small stuff. Like when I went to South Africa last year, it was Essence Festival in South Africa. And, they have all the booths and all types of vendors and things, just like they would in New Orleans Essence Festival. And immediately, me and my friend were like, what could we do here? Like, how can we also eat off of this? Like, is there an opportunity for us to have vending space here? Always keep your business mind on. There's dollars out there for you to make outside of this country. So don't forget that when you're traveling too.
Yeah, definitely in my heart, I always said that I have to go to an African nation or a few and set up, some media out there as well, just to do what we do, because hey, we need to kind of be established in Africa as just as much as you be established here in the United States. That's just minimum, because Africa is our original home, and we need to, like the racists say, we do need to go back. In a lot of ways we do, or at least have some sort of establishment there, some property there, build us a home there, because a lot of celebrities have homes in African nations.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Black celebrities.
Even if it's not your goal to live there 12 months out the year,
Correct.
To be able to have a home there. And even when we're still talking about business, like I want a flat in Johannesburg. I can't, I'm not in a position now to live there full time. I could certainly Airbnb it while I'm gone, stay there when I'm there. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's potential, but I think that's a great way to look at it. You don't have to live there all of the time, but to be able to buy land and, have a place for you and your family, I think is amazing.
You're right, because the climate that's in this country and the craziness and the decline that's happening in the dominant society, they just have a history of let's blame the Black man and Black woman for our problems. So we should make sure all of us obtain our passport. It's not that very hard to do.
Yes, at very minimum. Get a passport. My dad always talked to me about, like, it's just good to have options, and maybe there's nowhere in your near future that you think you're going to be able to go. But just having a passport gives you an option that if you see that $100 airfare to Australia, that you have the option to pick up and go. So, when you get some extra cash, put that towards a passport. And for people who work with youth, work in the nonprofit world, work in mentoring programs, use some of that funding that you're getting and allocate that to get kids passports, That's something that I'm very, very interested in, because I think exposure is everything. And if we can get children bitten with the travel bug early and they understand what it means to be a global citizen and that their worlds are bigger than the neighborhoods that we live in, that can be nothing but positive. So, passports for all.
I agree with you about that 100% because America itself really don't promote passports for all the citizens, no matter the color. They just don't promote that because it seems like they want to keep us all in the American bubble. And I get it, because if you go to other countries and you see it's a better environment, they may say, forget that. I'm not coming back. I'm staying over here. And then they look at tax dollars leaving and everything else. You know how that goes. But
absolutely.
With that being said, Miss Lindsee, thank you for joining us on the show today and giving us some information that we need.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I just, there has been an influx and an increase in Black travel. And I just hope that I continue to see, more of us getting out and seeing the world. And there's tons of Black travel groups that you can join. So, I'm excited to be a part of the movement.
Okay, so if anybody that's interested in maybe contacting you to ask you the steps or different things you have done, how can they contact you before we wrap up?
I'm on Instagram. You can see a lot of my travel photos there at Curly Locke, CurlyLockez, and that's the easiest way to find me via social media. And I'd love to talk to you about travel and if there's any good travel deals coming up. And I'm going to Cairo in November, and if people want to hop on the trip, you're more than welcome to. I've met really awesome people just randomly inboxing me, asking me where I'm going next, and they come. So don't be a stranger.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a sister that's showing you the way. Contact her. Open up your options, because we don't have to deal with all the problems that we deal with here in America. Exactly. If you have the means and want to say, you know what, forget it, I'm out. So contact your sister, and she will get you on the straight and narrow with that information. So, Ms. Linzee, thank you for joining us on the show today.
All right. Peace.